Hey everyone, this is Juan. This is our third workshop of the week. We are with Aurora. We were chatting before, and actually, I'm just curious about like your last name because I know it's not your last name. What is a poppy seed?
Oh, it's actually my last name, but in English.
Ah, really? Yeah. Well, okay,
Yeah,
because yours is like from you're from
Makovac,
Slovene.
Mak is basically in Slovene means poppy seed. So it's just
Okay.
like funny for, you know, how people recognize me in the Web3 space now.
Amazing,
A,
amazing.
a
Thank
little
you.
bit incognito, but not that much.
Yeah, actually, we're going to talk about that in this session, about how we can create confidential and private first applications on any blockchain. So, I mean, in this first part, can you introduce yourself? Let the audience know what do you do? Yeah, what's your mission within the Sama ecosystem?
For sure. Should I just present my screen to show
Yeah,
you
for
guys
sure,
the slides? Yeah.
for sure, for sure.
By the way, as you can see, my beautiful background here.
Yes, I was going to mention that you're really lucky to be in Patagonia, like on Edge City.
Yes,
So,
this is in Ed City, Patagonia, and there is no space in the co-working, so I am here outside catching the sun. It's really beautiful today, so yeah.
yeah,
Can you see
actually,
my
it
screen?
looks we can see your screen.
Nice. Okay. Papa. Good. Yeah. All right. Let's start with our topic today.
Let's go.
So, confidential smart contracts on EVM. It's quite. Don't be scared. It's gonna be easy. Trust me. So yeah, so about me here, you can see my name is Aurora Papisit, and I'm a developer at Zama since about a year now. I call myself a hackathon expert, been traveling around the world, doing many hackathons. Now I'm already retired, but doing a lot of submissions. um, and yeah, I'm in blockchain since 2022. Yeah. So, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about this confidentiality on chain. So, we're going to have we're going to talk about three items. First, we're going to say, okay, why blockchain fails at confidentiality. So, this will be our problem. Then we're going to say, okay, let's see. So, I'm going to try to convince you this is true, that blockchain fails at confidentiality. Then we're going to see, okay, how can we solve on-chain confidentiality? So we're going to look at the step-by-step process on how to do this. And then we're going to see what is the result when we are able to achieve this, what is the result of this. And as we can see, one of the major things will be that our ERC20 token will become confidential. All right. Can you hear me, guys? Good, by the way. Is it is it
Yes,
okay?
yes, we can. It's okay. It's
Cool.
okay. Anything that you need,
Amazing.
I will be.
All right. Okay. Let's go. Let's get started. All right. First, blockchain fails at confidentiality. So, as we now know, a lot of things on the blockchain actually are not private. So, but first, to understand why blockchain fails at confidentiality, let's understand what even is confidentiality. So we have confidentiality, we have privacy. Often these two words are kind of used interchangeably. However, they mean kind of two different things. So confidentiality is basically an obligation of those who manage the information. So banks are managing the information for you as an individual. You have, for example, when you go to a doctor, he is obliged to hold your data private. And then the privacy is basically a right of individual. So here we come in between as Zama. We protect sensitive information, and we're gonna see how we do that. All right, so all basically data as we see now on the blockchains is actually exposed. All our balances are completely available for anybody to see. So all your basically activity, once you go into an exchange, you connect your account, then you can everybody can see was happening to your address. So basically your entry point tells you everything. So here you can see we have a few people. So the problem here is, okay, we have a bunch of individuals with some money, and we can see exactly, okay, who can we target. So our thief here can target this individual with the most amount of money. So what we want to actually achieve is we want to have all these individuals here, and our thief will be quite sad and not able to target anybody. So our end goal is that our data won't be leaked. All right, so all the data is actually on blockchain, is public. How about if we solve this? Okay, so how do we solve on-chain confidentiality? How do we solve the problem that blockchains leak all our data? And how do we introduce the concept of confidentiality to this? We will need a universal key. So a universal key is something that unlocks and locks and unlocks any sort of closet, any sort of data. So for example, I can have my own personal key and store some information on chain. However, if we don't have this universal key, it's only me putting this information on chain, and I'm not able to transact it to anybody else. So I'm able to store it. So if I have only one key, I'm able to store the data. However, if we want to send this data to somebody else, maybe so somebody else can view it, they also need to have a key. So how does this look like? So we would have some information. So let's say this 1.2 million. We would basically take this universal key and kind of put a lock on it. So we would say this is actually encrypting, and it would look like a hash in the end, right? So this would be all anybody would be able to see on chain. So where should we store this key? If we store it on the blockchains, this won't work, right? Because as we know, blockchains are very much public. So you have a bunch of nodes, and the key would be stored on each of those nodes, and this won't much work. Also, servers are kind of not good enough, right? If we, for example, this is a computer, let's say server computer, that is connected to our blockchain, and we have our universal key stored on it. And here is again our hacker who can actually access this information because he actually knows what he can get. For example, maybe he was present in the manufacturing process, or maybe he targeted this specific server or something like that. So storing this key on a single server is not good enough, even if it's connected outside of the blockchain. So what do? We take this key, this universal key, and split it into multiple keys. So this would be multiple keys that you can see here. And they all, if they come together, they form a whole, and if they kind of cooperate together, they can form one universal key. So we split this key into multiple parts. We put each part on an individual server, and then once they collaborate together, they basically form this universal key. And this universal key is stored off chain and is connected to our blockchain. So this is kind of a simplification of what we do at Zama, a very, very simplification. However, it's not the full picture. So what happens when we need to change an encrypted balance? So we actually now say, okay, we manage storing this universal key. We are quite good on that. People there is no thieves, they cannot take it away. But we need something when we are basically, I'm transferring a balance from one person to another. There is some sort of computation there that needs to happen. And this actually computation, how it happens, it's very important. So this is, for example, Alice. This is our Bob. Alice is transferring $10 to Bob. And this is what happens in the end, is basically, so there is two computations that are going on. So balance from Alice is reduced by 10, and balance of Bob is increased by 10. And actually, this is a computation that has to happen on encrypted data, because in traditional sense, what we would do, so we would basically take this to the server, decrypt the information, compute it, and put it back on the on chain, right? So this is not something we want to do, because again, our thief can come along and steal this information. All right. So we need some sort of computation on encrypted data. And we have actually a mechanism to do this. It's called fully homomorphic encryption. So fully homomorphic encryption to the rescue. If you heard a term, we call it FHE. And this allows us to do computations on encrypted data. So at no point when this computation happens, we don't need to we don't need to decrypt the computation. So how does this look like? So you're all very familiar with public keys and private keys. So with public keys, we have some uint32, and what we are doing here, we're just encrypting it. Okay, that's very simple. We have a new data type, it's uint32. When we have a private key, we are decrypting it. So you're very familiar with these two operations in the classical sense when you're dealing with MetaMask or anything like that. You have a wallet, you have a public key that is visible to everybody, and a private key that is only available to you. However, in FHE, so fully homomorphic encryption, we have another key called evaluation key. So this evaluation key basically allows us to do computations on encrypted data. So how this would look like, EUINT plus EUINT would result in a new EUINT. For example, Alice has so Bob has $1,000 plus Alice sends him $10. So he would have $1,010. And this would be all in an encrypted format. So in the end, if you remember from here, you would see just some hash that looks like this. All right. So what do we do at Zama? So as I mentioned before, I work at Zama, and actually Zama is a pioneer in fully homomorphic encryption. And it allows us to build confidential application on any blockchain. So Zama basically started with FHE library that is built in Rust, and then expanded from that. And now we build, so we are available on testnet today. So on Sepolia testnet, we will be available on Ethereum by the end of the year, and then on all the other EVM compatible chains, and Solana next. So how it kind of works, you have your classical Ethereum, and then you have a coprocessor working off-chain, which is, I'm not going to go into the architectural details, but this is kind of how it goes. All right, so let's look at the result now. So what we have actually introduced to Ethereum. What you all are familiar with in the classical EVM chains is the ERC20 token. And now what we have created by making it confidential, we have created the ERC, so the confidential token. And actually what we did, we partnered with OpenZeppelin. So OpenZeppelin standard you already know. And we partnered with them to create this lovely library, OpenZeppelin confidential contract. where you actually have a new standard called ERC7984. So you all are familiar with ERC20, and now we have ERC7984. So how we write ERC20 token? Okay, so we import this from our source. Then we basically are creating a constructor. We are minting an initial supply. So to message.sender, we're minting initial supply and defining a token, in this case, from the documentation, we're calling it gold. Then actually how our ERC7984 token would look like. So we actually are importing the FHE library from, so this is what we actually created. Then we would import some configuration settings for specific chain where we are doing this. For testnet, this would be Sepolia config. For Ethereum, it would be Ethereum config. For some other chain, it would be something else. And then we are also importing the confidential fungible token that is defined by OpenZeppelin. This is still the old version. The v0.3 will have like ERC7984 definition here. So then we are actually so we're saying, okay, this is Sepolia config, confidential fungible token, and then we are creating the constructor with initial supply, creating the fungible token, defining it in a similar manner as here. And then we are minting the initial supply as a clear value. So here we are just FHE as EUINT64. We are just making it into a compatible type that FHE can understand, that our library can understand. So how this would look like? Okay, so if we call in the traditional sense, gold token balance off, we would get 20 to the 10 to the power of 18, which would result in 20 ETH. And if we call gold token, which is a different kind, so it's defined here, so it should be actually confidential gold token, we would basically get this hash over here, which only Alice could decrypt as 20 ETH. So nothing scary here, right? It's quite similar as it is. And yeah, all right. How about if we want some other, let's say we want some other libraries, we want to do something else. So for example, we want to build, instead of only dealing with private transfers, we want to build some blind auctions, or we want to do some confidential voting, we want to do some encrypted DIDs. For example, you guys probably heard of blind auctions, what you do. So when I'm bidding on a house, it's really good for the house owner, right? Because only he knows what kind of auction he gets. But I, as a bidder, when I'm bidding on a house, I actually don't know what's going on there. So I say, he tells me, oh yeah, the house is valued somewhere around to, actually now it would be almost 1 million with this inflation. So I say, okay, probably there are a lot of bidders. I bid 1 million, 1.2 million, right? So this would be a confidential bid on chain that you could do, and then you would get other bidders, and then the one with the biggest bid would win. So this is basically a blind auction. So if you want to create something like that and not just a confidential token, you could use our encrypted types, so EUINT8, EUINT16, and so on. So basically what you're very familiar with from classical Solidity programming, except now it contains EUINT, so encrypted EUINT8. And you could use our library to do that. All right, so let's look at some resources that you guys can use. So as I mentioned before, you can use OpenZeppelin confidential contracts. Then you can see our documentation on docs.zama.ai. And here you have like quick start guide and solidity guides and so on. Then you can actually, if you're going to participate in the hackathon and you need something quick to to start from, I would actually recommend you to use the FHEVM React template. So basically use this template at Zama AI FHEVM React template. I strongly suggest you to do that because there are some configuration settings that you have to set when you're dealing with confidential contracts. That's one thing. And then when you have the front end, you need to do encryption and decryption. So every time you're dealing anything with confidentiality, you basically are decrypting for the user and encrypting for the user when you're putting some input, right? So I would use this library if you have basically limited amount of time. And then I would, of course, invite you to join this Zama developer program, which is on Guild, and participate in it, and maybe you will win some additional rewards. So basically, if we go to actually Guild, you can see Guild, Zama, here we are. Here is basically the developer program, and you can actually join it. And in addition to the rewards that you are gonna get here, you can get some additional rewards there. All right, thank you very much. Yeah, so I'm gonna say like try the Zama protocol. And yeah, if you have any questions, I will share my screen again. But for now, I am, instead of having like this giant mirror, I'm gonna stop my screen.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aurora, like to giving us like the motivation and why you are working on the thing you are working. I already shared some of the links, and we will be sending this to the hackers. And something that I'm curious is, what are like these things that you would like to see being shipped and presented on the hackathon? And since you, I have like two questions from your presentation. One is like, what are the things where you see the potential of this technology being applied? And the other one, since you are a hackathon expert, to give our audience some tips about how do you like, yeah, go to a hackathon, how do you prepare, and those type of like, yeah, advice for participate on a hackathon.
Okay, so first one was basically what kind of applications I would like to see. First off,
Mhm.
I wouldn't like to limit anything in terms of applications, because I believe that even if there is like, we see a lot of application of one thing, in the future something else would be like very common. So I would just like you to do your own research, and what you see would be interesting for you, basically create it. I mean, probably FHE for now is not, it's computationally quite expensive. Maybe it wouldn't make the most amount of sense to make on-chain games right now, but in the future, of course, it will. So for now, what makes a lot of sense is confidential tokens. Anything in terms of that, banking, anything like that would be very interesting. If you guys want to do like some very interesting, auction or something like that, like some interesting blind auction or some interesting confidential voting schema, or maybe some encrypted DID, something more, elaborate, well, then I please focus on your code. You don't need to make everything, like just focus on your code and then make very exhaustive documentation so we know your thought process. Just focus on your code. Please don't be like, oh, I want to do this and the best blend auction and the best this and the best this and the best that and the best UI. Just focus on one thing, because you will have very limited amount of time. So that would be going to the second question. What would I recommend for people? Use existing templates. Help yourself with what we provide to you, and of course, enjoy, meet new people, get some good rest, because like I would rather see you guys prepare first, ask questions first, and then get some good rest, because rest is very important. Every time you don't sleep, you're shortening your lifespan, and these hackathons are not structured in the best way for that. So and also you will be fresh in your mind. So rather prepare yourself before, come prepared, come with a focus in mind, not like too much, but like very focused. Come to us, ask us questions. We are there for you. Maybe not at night, you have to sleep as well. um, but yeah, so you're very welcome to ask any questions. If you have some interesting idea, come to us. If you have some problems, come to us as well.
Totally agree on like hackathons. I guess it's like because of the default design that we have lean to, but I agree totally that we need to rest. And I was just like thinking about how many years we have lost of our lifespan because of all the hackathons that we are holding. Like having this, putting all-nighters and drinking Red Bull is not a good idea. I mean, it's good to
Yeah.
have like intense focus work, but I mean, at least take 6, 8 hours of sleep and then wake up and keep hacking. But yeah, totally agree. I have
It's
my
on the
mixed feelings.
it's on the hackathon designers in the end, right? I would really much prefer to see that we end the hackathon, around uh, 7 p.m., 8 p.m. But this is very debatable, so people get mad when I
Yeah.
suggest this.
No, no, no. I'm on your side. I'm on your side. Well, in Sao Paulo is the ETH Samba guys. I mean, they understand the community. And they're going to be running that. But actually, I'm going to suggest people. Okay, guys, it's 11 p.m. Go have a good night's sleep. See you tomorrow, 7 a.m., 9 a.m. You already have at least 7, 8 hours of sleep and keep hacking.
Exactly.
Because actually you are going to be tired. You are going to be, yeah, a bit like, actually there is like this correlation when you put an all-nighter is like the equivalent to being a bit drunk to get like 2 or 3 beers,
Mm,
so your brain's not functioning. And if you are pitching, if you are coming, you need to answer quick to the judges questions. So yeah, great tip from a hackathon expert. Actually, how do you, I'm curious about how do you organize your time during the hackathon?
how do I organize my time during hackathon? So what I try to do usually is prepare a really good template beforehand for myself. So that's why I was in the Zama. I'm showing you this React template. It's not perfect. We're improving it still, but it's quite comprehensive. So what I try to do is put everything in there already. It's quite opinionated already to force you kind of not to choose between different providers, different this and that, and so on. Just have something, get ready, and go. Then another thing is focus on some specific bounties that you want to get, right? So I know you guys, it's very tempting to be like, oh, I wanted this and this and this. And this. But, in the end, you're going to impress the judges the most when you focus on one thing. For example, the last bounty in Ethereum, there were a lot of developers that were focusing on us and some other bounty provider. I was like, it's totally fine for me if you do that. But when we went to the other bounty provider and they said, oh, we don't like this. So we want for them to focus on this, on only one product. So you know you lose on, like, it's really hard to be super generalistic, and because you kind of get this weird Frankenstein of a product in the end, right? Yeah. Juan, I think you're muted.
So yeah, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I was saying that yesterday we were talking with the developer from Base, and he used the same term that you did, Frankenstein applications, where they try to put like everything together and
I
doesn't
think it
make
was
any
actually a
sense.
base guy, but I didn't want to mention it. Yeah, it was base guys. Yeah, but
Ah, yeah, Joseph told us that. Yeah, and it's like also when you are, I mean, bounties and this type of event are a good way to get to know like potential investors, employers. So you also have to be strategic if you want to create a long-term relationship. You just have to focus on one thing and develop trust. And actually, today I saw a tweet that in crypto, when you focus on one ecosystem, like the return of investment is 1000x if you focus just on
Mm.
one and you go deep, because there's a lot of information and things that you need to learn in order to make a valuable contribution. And talking about that, yep,
Also,
go ahead.
I wanted to say, hackathons are really good just to test people, basically. So if you want to have a co-founder, take him to a hackathon first. So if you're not sure if you want to commit to them, take them to a hackathon first, and then do an all-nighter, and then you will see how they basically, you know, uh,
Wow.
when it's like 3 4 a.m., you will see what kind of person they are.
Wow, that's a great tip.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
like people say, like this relationship tips go with your couple or the people you are dating to a travel. This is the same for co-founders. If you want to
Exactly,
know how, like the
exactly.
real, yeah,
Mm,
attitude and traits of your co-founder, see him or her 3 4 a.m. in the morning, how that person behaves. Interesting.
mhm.
Great tip. Like actually, yeah, everything. Well, we are always relating and we're creating relationships, and that's pretty interesting. Also, you're a founder, or you were a founder. Um, any like also like tips or advice on how to just like go from MVP to product? Like, what's your thinking process when you develop
So
that?
I will relate this to Zama because I'm here
For
with
sure.
Zama, and we would like to see actually. So we have kind of our developer program on Guild that I shared with you guys. So I'm just gonna maybe share it here in the. Where should I share it? Yeah, this one. Yeah, yeah. So we have our developer program to see kind of which projects are best and so on. Every month we choose top 5 winners. However, so this is kind of the stage where we say, oh, you guys are really good. However, to go from this stage where you are actually a really good developer, you have a product and so on, to then looking for VCs, well, I won't claim that I know a lot about VC game because I always been more of a programmer than the one who been actively approaching VCs. But it's good. One thing that you should look for, which VCs in crypto will definitely, reject you at first sight, is kind of you have to have another co-founder, one or two other co-founders, so that you are 2 or 3 in the team. 3 is a bit tricky, 2 is the best, which has a complementary skill set to yours. So if you are more of um, kind of extroverted co-founder that likes approach people and is really good in marketing, well, then you need some more introverted co-founder, which is more good in coding.
Definitely.
So balance, and then you two can actually step together and create a really good product. By the way, if you guys are gonna be interested in the like finding VCs in Zama, we basically, once you are in our developer program and one of the top winners, we like actively come to you. Hey, are you interested in starting a product? And we actually can introduce you to some of our VCs, and we have a few people who would be interested in sponsoring you.
Amazing. And when you say when you enter the developer program, what does it mean? What is the process? How do people apply?
So, if you guys are winners already in this EFLATAM, I think it's already enough. Just we would like to see you kind of register so we have all of your details. Um, then basically, so how, just I'm gonna just talk about the developer program and on this connecting it to this hackathon. So each month we have for the developer program we have bounties, and then so we have 10K in prizes. So we choose top 5 winners in our program, and Basically, we select from all the projects, project applications. We get a lot of them, unfortunately. Well, maybe it's not that bad, but for me, when I have to scroll through all of them, it's quite a lot to do. So yeah, you basically how you can stand out from those, have a good project, have a good pitch. So when you're doing a presentation, have a good talk maybe. Don't do a video where you just present without speaking. That's, you have to differentiate yourself from the crowd. Have a good GitHub that looks presentable, with properly structured. You have put some time and effort into it. README looks okay. You can see all the contracts there. FAQ, of course, was included, and so on. And then your code base has to be deployed, like basics, basically. Your project is very interesting. You have spent some time and effort into it, and then that's basically it. How you, but in the end, if you're serious about your project, you can get like very easily, and so I mean, become a
But
winner.
those are great tips, and I have never heard, and makes a lot of sense to use the README as a good way to show the sponsor that you have learned about the technology, and also to show like the thinking process behind the construction of the MVP. That's actually a great tip, and also something that people sometimes miss when they are newcomers to a hackathon. That is important to have like a good story to tell. You need to connect with the judges through and a story. I mean, you're solving a problem, and they need to understand quite quick. And actually, in those scenarios, judges are seeing pitches every 10-20 minutes, so they need to get impressed. And the best way is like to, through, I will say, with good story, also good design, clear messaging. Have been talking during these sessions about the importance of focusing on one thing, not try to create something like really complex. Just one feature well deployed will be a much better thing than a couple of things half or not that well developed.
I mean, if you're trying to make something very complex, make sure that you kind of convey it in your thinking. Like, you can think about a very complex architecture, but make sure you have diagrams, of course. Make sure that you convey this idea. Make sure that okay, this is what all I want to build, but I create this sort of segments,
Mhm.
and this is how I will do all the rest. That can be also like a really good, interesting project, right? So you built out this huge architecture. That's also something interesting to convey, right? And then prove it. Okay, we did this small amount, right, for this hackathon. That can be also good.
For sure. And in Web3, everything is about like, or one important thing is about create like products or things that are composable. What do you think are like the missing pieces within the Zama ecosystem? Like something that you would like to see being built that can connect with the bigger Zama ecosystem?
Hmm. Um, so as I mentioned before, we're not looking. I'm not gonna convey like specific ideas into developers' hands. Build this, build this, build this, because then I'm taken too literally. um, I'm trying to think about how to convey it in a general way. Anything that uses FHE, we are interested to see any sort of application that uses FHE. If it makes sense, so you're thinking, I don't know, um, you're doing let's say, so now I'm in the edge city, right? This is basically a network state. and I want to do some interesting governance voting on chain, well, it would make very much sense to build in confidentiality. So we are interested the most, I would say, in application where, I'm already building something. Oh, but I really need confidentiality. Let's use this, right? So these kind of applications where I already have an idea in mind. I want to solve this problem, but I need a missing piece, and this missing piece is confidentiality. This would be something ideal that we would be looking for, actually.
Amazing. I think that's a great way to close this streaming with that word in mind. Like, most of the hackers are going to be from Brazil. So for you on the other side of the screen, think of a problem that you have on your daily life or you have seen within your community that confidentiality is important, and try to solve with Zama. And well, that's it, Aurora. Thank you for joining us. I really envy your background. It looks like that those like design things that you have on Google Meet, but you are actually on the real space. So thank you for
Like
spending.
touching the grass, literally.
Yeah, actually, ocean grass. Keep enjoying in the Edge City, and thank you so much for joining, sharing your knowledge, and anything or another link that you have, please send that to me, and I will share that with the hackers, like where they can go for the docs. I already have the links for the guild. Just guild
I
is this
think we're
platform.
gonna post like a developer resources page somewhere, no? As I know.
Yep, yep,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Whatever
So
you
we're
have,
gonna
I
list
will.
everything there. We already
Perfect.
have that, no? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
All right. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
and have a good rest of your day.
Enjoy. Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank
Bye.
you.